Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. My name is Santbir Singh, and I will be today speaking about the idea of divinity in Sikhi, the idea of Vaheguru Sahib Ji in Sikhi, and how this idea of divinity compares to on one hand, the Judeo-Christian Islamic traditions, which we call Semitic or Abrahamic faiths, and on the other hand, the Vedic and Buddhist traditions of South Asia. Sikhi is the Tisar Panth, the third way. And Sikhi's idea of divinity and the way that divinity is explored and understood in Guru Granth Sahib Ji and Guru Gobind Singh Ji's Bani and Bhai Gurdas Ji and Bhai Nand Lal Ji's Bani is very unique from the way that it is understood in other traditions. And that's what we will be looking at today. We're going to be starting off by really exploring Guru Nanak Sahib Ji's divine revelation. Guru Nanak Sahib Ji discovered, or not discovered, he realized some fundamental truths about the universe. And these fundamental truths he shared with us, his Sikhs. What Guru Nanak Sahib Ji realized about divinity was very unique compared to the traditions that he was living amongst at the time. And the three dominant traditions around Punjab at the time of Guru Nanak Sahib Ji were Islamic, Brahminical, so mainstream Hinduism, and yoga. Those were the three main traditions that were around at the time of Guru Nanak Sahib Ji. And Guru Nanak Sahib Ji's idea of divinity is very unique from those three different traditions. The problem begins with when we try to define Vaheguru or divinity or God, if some people want to use that term. And I'm going to try to avoid using the word God throughout this presentation because the Judeo-Christian idea of God is very different than the Sikh conception of Vaheguru. They're not comparable. And so in order to avoid confusion, we're going to be using the word Vaheguru or divinity when we're speaking about Vaheguru Sahib Ji. In the Christian idea of God, it is based on the Greek conception of the cosmos, where the earth is the center of the universe and the planets and the stars surround it. Whereas the Hindu idea of the cosmos, the traditional Hindu idea of the cosmos is that the world is sitting on the back of four elephants, which is on top of a turtle flying through the abyss of space. These are two very different ways of understanding what the universe is. And it's in understanding what the universe is that they are trying to understand what God is, what divinity is. The problem is that every definition of God or of the universe will always be limited by the technology and ideas of the time, so that the idea of God and divinity as described in the Bible or the Quran is going to reflect the ideas that were present in those traditions when those texts were written down 2,000 years ago, 1,500 years ago, whenever. Similarly, the way that the Vedas describe the universe is going to be limited by when the Vedas were written down, when the Rig Veda and the other Vedas were written down. So by defining the universe, you are locking it in place in time. And eventually your definition will become outdated. It will not last for a long time. It will over time be superseded by new definitions of the universe, of the cosmos. We have in the West this kind of always this rhetoric of religion versus science. Science on one hand, religion on the other, and people believe that you can either be religious or you can be scientific, and it's very difficult to be both. But this dichotomy, this duality does not exist in the Sikh tradition at all. And it doesn't exist in the Sikh tradition because what science is trying to do, which is prove facts, is totally out of the realm of what Sikhi is trying to do. Sikhi is not trying to prove anything. Sikhi is not carrying out experiments. Sikhi is not giving evidence. Sikhi is not describing things in a scientific method. That needs to be understood very clearly. What Sikhi is doing is something very, very different. Sikhi is instead talking about experiencing Vaheguru. We'll get to that in a minute. So let's look at this Shabad by Guru Nanak Sahib Ji, this Bhakti from Guru Nanak Sahib Ji. Sona sona gandana gandiye, likpar bujhe par, Trishna henes agli, home rog vakar, oh vapor vaho atolva, gurmata kimata sar. You can spend your life studying books. You can spend your life reading, educating yourself, but you will never, ever, ever be able to fully comprehend Vaheguru Sahib Ji. The only way that you can ever have some type of understanding of Vaheguru is through Gurmat. Gurmate Kimat Asar, as Guru Nanak Sahib Ji says here. That only through the Guru's wisdom, the Guru's teaching, can you understand or have an experience of Vaheguru. Trying to define Vaheguru, trying to explain Vaheguru will always fall short. So that the realm of science, which is trying to explain things, and the realm of Sikhi, which is about experiencing things, are two very different realms, and they don't need to come into conflict with each other. A Sikh can practice science and follow questions of science wholeheartedly, and it will have no impact on their faith in Vaheguru or in Guru, because they are looking at two very different realms. The problem becomes when we try to define divinity. When we define divinity, the definition of divinity will inherently become outdated and will even appear over time to be ridiculous to us. It will appear to be something that does not make sense. So that one of the incarnations of Vishnu, Parashrama, who was the founder of the Brahmins, killed many, many Khatris, millions and millions of Khatris, and that's what made him famous. So your idea of divinity is this sort of this mass murdering figure who killed millions and millions of Khatris. Or you have the Christian idea of God, who is both the human and God, a child born of virgin birth, and is somehow God and human at the same time. Now, both of these definitions, if you were to explain them to someone who had never heard of these traditions before, they would not sound credible. Because what is happening here is that they are trying to define divinity. They're saying, this is what God is. God looks like this. God acts like this. God behaves in this way. God has this form. God came to the world in this way, so on and so forth. Once you go down that path, you are going to be limited Vaheguru. You are going to be putting constraints on where Vaheguru is. You're going to be putting it in a box. But Vaheguru Sahib Ji is outside of these descriptions. It is outside of these boxes. Vaheguru Sahib Ji is impossible to comprehend through our minds. Tu aad purakh aparampar karta, tera paar na paya jaye jiyo. Tu kat antar sarb nirantar sarb mein reha samay jiyo. Kat antar paar brahm parmeswar ta ka ant na paya. Your ant cannot be reached. Your limits cannot be described, Parmeshwar. Vaheguru Sahib Ji, your limits can never be understood. This roop narek adist agochar gurmukh alak lakhaya. Sada anand rehe din rati seje naam samaye jiyo. Tu aad purakh Aparampar karta tera par na paya jai jio. You cannot ever understand the limits of Vaheguru. You cannot say, God is this, and this is what God looks like, this is what God behaves like, this is exactly what God is. By doing that, you are limiting Vaheguru. And that is what these other traditions are doing. They are putting limits on divinity. And by limiting divinity, they are making their traditions be inherently uh, frozen in time. They are not timeless traditions. This is the key to understanding Vaheguru. And it's not about understanding Vaheguru, it's about experiencing Vaheguru. That's the real difference in the Sikh tradition compared to other traditions. You're not trying to understand Vaheguru, you are trying to experience Vaheguru. And the only way to experience Vaheguru is through pyar, through love, through compassion. Buddha path na paiye, bahut taraiye, paye mile man pane. Guru Nanak Sahib Ji in this Shabad is saying that you cannot understand Vaheguru through scholarship, through reading books, through scientific method. You will never be able to reach Vaheguru through those methodologies. The only method that works to understand Vaheguru is through love. The only way to experience Vaheguru is through love. This is such a beautiful and powerful idea. And it totally takes us out of that dichotomy that the other traditions put you in. The God versus creation. God as separate from creation. Divinity as separate from humanity. It takes you out of that duality completely. It removes yourself from that duality. Because Vaheguru doesn't become some type of being that you need to try to define and understand. Vaheguru becomes an experience that through pyar you can feel, that you can connect with, that you can do simran on, that you can have anand of. That is a way to connect with Vaheguru. And this is where Sikhi really becomes quite beautifully powerful, is that if there are no limits on Vaheguru, then Vaheguru is within all beings. Vaheguru is within the very, very rich philanthropist, and Vaheguru is within the very poorest beggar, the person begging for money. Vaheguru is the same within those two people. Vaheguru is not more within the person with more wealth, with more power. Vaheguru is not less within the person who does not have means. Vaheguru is the same within both of those people. And here we have a line from Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji's Akal Ustat. Kathun pakari hoy ke mangat phirt peek ko mahadan hoy ke mango tan det ho. Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji is saying, somewhere you are Pakari, somewhere you are a Mangat. Some places you are begging, and some places you are giving away. But Vaheguru Sahib Ji, you are both. So let's look at what it is exactly that Vaheguru is in the Sikh tradition. Because instead of defining Vaheguru, the Gurus Sahibjis instead explained Vaheguru. They gave attributes of Vaheguru, that this is what Vaheguru is like. Vaheguru is like this way, Vaheguru behaves in this way. And those are the things that we can then connect with as human beings. And that's what Mool Mantra is here. This is a copy of a Nishan of Guru Arjan Sahib Ji's, which is the beginning part of Mool Mantra. And you can see that Guru Arjan Sahib Ji, in any Mool Mantra, what Mool Mantra is describing are qualities of Vaheguru. It's not defining Vaheguru. It's not saying Vaheguru is only this and nothing else. It is saying that these are attributes of Vaheguru. that these are ways of trying to connect with Vaheguru. So the first aspect, the first characteristic of Vaheguru is that Vaheguru is true. In fact, Vaheguru is the only true thing. For something to be true, it must remain true for all time. You can't say that I, Santbir Singh, am true because one day Santbir Singh will not exist. Santbir Singh will die. And therefore, saying that Santbir Singh exists is not a true statement because one day Santbir Singh will not exist. Every single thing in the universe will one day not exist. From stars and our sun to galaxies, they will all be destroyed at some point. They will all at one point be, they will all at one point die because they were born at one point, and so they must die. So the only thing that can be true, that can remain true through all time, is Vaheguru Sahib Ji. Soi soi sada sach sahib sacha sachi nai. Of course, this is from Reda Sahib Ji. Guru Nanak Sahib Ji is saying here that only Vaheguru is true and that Vaheguru's Naam is truth. And we'll talk about Naam in a future video, but we're going to stay clear of that idea for today because that's a very big topic as well. Vaheguru is not only true, but Vaheguru is creative. Vaheguru makes the universe. Vaheguru creates things. Vaheguru is a loving creator. Ekankar ek pasara eke apar apara. Vaheguru Sahib Ji created the universe, and Vaheguru Sahib Ji is unlimited and infinite. Vaheguru Sahib Ji is not constrained by the universe. We're going to talk about this in a little bit more detail in a couple of slides. But Vaheguru Sahib Ji creates the universe, but is not stuck within the universe. Vaheguru Sahib Ji is also going to exist once the universe dies. Because the universe was created, the universe must die at some point. Everything that is created must die at some point. But if Vaheguru Sahib Ji creates the universe and the universe must die at one point, does that mean that Vaheguru Sahib Ji dies when the universe dies? No, not at all. We don't know how many countless universes there have been. We don't know how many countless universes there exist at this one time. There's a multiverse of universes. There's no way to know these things. Maybe science one day will be able to define there's this many universes or there's this many possibilities, but they will never be able to fully comprehend the scale of the universe. And even if they do understand that scale, Vaheguru is outside of that scale. Vaheguru Sahib Ji is not limited by Vaheguru Sahib Ji's creation. Vaheguru Sahib Ji's creation is something that is limited, but Vaheguru is not limited. Vaheguru is fearless. And we can see this quality in our Guru Sahibs. Guru Nanak Sahib Ji in this painting is confronting Babur the Mughal. When Babur invaded South Asia, Guru Nanak Sahib Ji was in Ahmedabad visiting Bhai Lallo. And Guru Nanak Sahib Ji was witness to the horrors. And just like right now, we're seeing the horrors of war on our TVs, on our phones, what is happening in Ukraine. Guru Nanak Sahib Ji witnessed the horrors of war up close. He was there. He was present to it. And Guru Nanak Sahib Ji was fearless in his condemnation of Babur. Fearless. Vaheguru Sahib Ji is fearless. Because if Vaheguru Sahib Ji has created the universe, then nothing in the universe can be as strong as Vaheguru. Nothing in the universe can make Vaheguru be afraid. Because everything in the universe, every phenomenon, every action, every behavior, every type of being, every type of thing is a creation of Vaheguru. Not one of them Not one of them can be greater than Vaheguru. Gur pura nirapo sada janam marn jam dare utare. The perfect Guru, Vaheguru Sahib Ji and the Guru are fearless, and they give us that fearless quality of being unafraid of birth and death. Why is Vaheguru not afraid of birth and death like all other beings are? Because Vaheguru Sahib Ji does not get born and so does not die. Vaheguru Sahib Ji has no enemies. Vaheguru does not hate anything because everything is Vaheguru. Vaheguru exists within all things. If Vaheguru exists within all things, then nothing can be Vaheguru's enemy. And that is what the Gurus understood. So even when Pende Khan came and attacked Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji, Guru Sahib Ji still cradled Pende Khan in his lap. With his dying breath, Pende Khan was comforted by Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji. Because even though Pende Khan had attacked Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji personally and had brought an army to kill Sikhs and the Guru, Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji still had no vair, no enmity with Pende Khan. There was no hate in the Guru's heart. There is no rival, no enemy who can dare attack Vaheguru Sahib Ji. Tiska Sarik ko nahi, na ko kantik verai. Vaheguru Sahib Ji is formless. And at the same time, Bani tells us that Vaheguru Sahib Ji has unlimited forms. Vaheguru Sahib Ji's forms are unlimited because Vaheguru exists within all of creation. But because Vaheguru is not limited by creation, because it cannot be constrained within creation, Vaheguru has no forms as well. So this feels like a contradictory statement, but when you understand what the Guru Sahibis are trying to say, you'll get it, it'll click. That Vaheguru is many forms because Vaheguru exists within all beings, but Vaheguru is no form because Vaheguru is not constrained by that creation. Apni Maya, Aap Pasari, Ape Dekhanhara, Nana Roop Tare Borangi, Sabte Rehe Nyara, Agant Apar, Alak Niranjan, Jis Sab Jag Parmayo. Vaheguru Sahib Ji is Aganat, Apar, Alak, Niranjan. Vaheguru Sahib Ji has no limits. So Vaheguru Sahib Ji has many forms, but also is Sabte Rehe Nyara, also not constrained by those forms. Vaheguru Sahib Ji is Nyara from those forms. And Vaheguru is just. There is in the Sikh tradition, we are not relativists. We don't believe in cultural relativism. We don't believe that what is right in one culture may be wrong in another culture. We have a very clear idea of what is right and wrong. And those ideas of right and wrong apply in all circumstances. Because we have an innate sense of justice. And what is unjust must be confronted. Because there is the idea of true justice in this world. And we are always working towards that true justice. Because true justice is Vaheguru Sahib Ji's true form, true behavior is to be just. Pura nyaya kare kartar apne das ko rakhnhar. Vaheguru Sahib Ji protects us, and Vaheguru Sahib Ji administers perfect justice. Perfect justice. And because Vaheguru Sahib Ji is formless and has many forms, because Vaheguru Sahib Ji has no enemies, because Vaheguru Sahib Ji is just, above all else, Vaheguru Sahib Ji is sovereign. Vaheguru Sahib Ji, nothing can exist above Vaheguru. Vaheguru is the ultimate power in the universe. Dukh Panjan Jag Jivan Haraya. That the divine Vaheguru Jag Jivan is a Dukh Panjan. The Haraya, the divine Vaheguru Haraya, is the life of the world, is Jag Jivan, and is a Dukh Panjan. That sovereign Vaheguru is a destroyer of pain and the life of the world. And we see that sovereignty echoed in our Guru's tradition. So that's a painting of what an artist imagined Guru Gobind Singh Sahibji's darbar may have looked like, with Guru Gobind Singh Sahibji sitting with his Jar Sahibjade. And Guru Gobind Singh Ji is sovereign because there is no one above Guru Gobind Singh Ji but Vaheguru. The question that arises, how was the universe created? This is a question that science is always trying to answer. Sikhi gives hints to this, but does not lock it into place with a specific definition. But it does give us an idea of how the creation was formed. And it was in an instant. There was voidless nothingness, no forms, for countless eons, before time as a concept even existed. And then within an instant, within a second, less than a second, creation was manifested. And we see this in Bani and Rag Maru. We see this, Guru Nanak Sahib Ji talks about Arbad, Narabad, Tandu Kara, Tarana Gagana, Hukam Apara, Na Din Rain, Na Chand, Na Suraj, Sun Samad Lagayada. And we see this in Guru Gobind Singh Ji's Bani, in Chandi Diwar, in Sri Bhagoti Ji Ki War, after Teg Bahadur Simriye Karanon Dyavetaye, the next line, the next pori is Khanda Pratme Saj Ke, Jin Sab Se Sar Upaya. That the Khanda, which represents Vaheguru in this instant, brought in the physical world in an instant. So that Guru Nanak Sahib is telling us that there was complete darkness. There was no earth, no sky. Taran na gagana. There was no earth, no gagan, no sky. Na din rain, na chand, na suraj. There was no day, no night, no sun, no moon. There was no creation at all for many countless eons before time even existed as a concept. And after all of this time, then Vaheguru Sahib Ji brought creation into the world. Now, this sounds very similar to the Big Bang Theory that scientists nowadays believe the universe started with. But we are not constraining ourselves to the Big Bang Theory, because in 50 years, in 100 years, the Big Bang Theory may become outdated. And there may be a new theory about how the universe was made. And we, while those ideas are interesting and while they are useful scientifically, they have no impact on our faith in Vaheguru. They have no way of ever constraining this definition, this idea of Vaheguru as presented in Bani. So let's look at this in a little bit more detail. Sabke mad alipto re. Sabke mad, within everybody, but at the same time, alipto re, also unattached. So the way that we can understand this is that Vaheguru existed, the creator existed for countless eons. And then in an instant, Vaheguru created creation. And Vaheguru infused themselves within creation, so that there was no distinction between creation and Vaheguru. But at the same time, Vaheguru was not constrained by creation. So Vaheguru still exists outside of creation. So this is sort of two big ideas we need to try to grasp at the same time. That Vaheguru is within creation, but Vaheguru is not constrained by creation. Vaheguru exists outside of creation still. Why is that important? Because creation will one day be destroyed, and Vaheguru cannot be destroyed. This means that Vaheguru is transcendent. Vaheguru is separate, apart. Vaheguru is something that we seek, we long for in Bani, we cry out for, because Vaheguru is transcendent. Mera man lo jay gur darsana tai bilab kare chatrik ki nyai trika na utre sant na ave bir darsan sant pyare jiyo. That my mind, Guru Arjan Sahib Ji is saying, is begging for the chance to glimpse Vaheguru. Just like Baba Buddha Ji and the Sikhs would do Pakarma of Gwalior Fort when they were desperate to see Guru Hargobind Sahib Ji. When Guru Arjan Sahib Ji, when Baba Arjan was desperate to see Guru Ramdas Sahib Ji. We are desperate to experience Vaheguru. Vaheguru is transcendent because Vaheguru is apart from creation, but Vaheguru is also always present in creation. So Vaheguru is both immanent and transcendent. And this is where Sikhi becomes very, very unique from other traditions. Because in other traditions, divinity is either transcendent or divinity is immanent. Immanent meaning it is within us at all times. But in Sikhi, Vaheguru is both transcendent and Vaheguru is also always present, immanent. Purab abnasi reha parpur jan nanak gave dekhadur tu hai sajjan tu sajan tu ape milanhar. It's that idea that Vaheguru is within us, always close to us, close to our hearts, that allows for brave Sikhs like Sukha and Jinda to face their execution with such dignity and strength. Because they fully understand and comprehend that Vaheguru is close to them. Vaheguru is with them, so there's nothing to fear. So Vaheguru is everywhere. Janana Gave Dekhadur. Dekhadur everywhere. Everywhere I look, Vaheguru is. You are my sajan. You are my sajan. Tu hai sajan, tu sajan. Tu ape melanhan. So Vaheguru is both a close friend, and Vaheguru is also something that you long for, something that feels far away. Vaheguru is both. And this can be a difficult concept to really wrap your head around. And the reason why it's a difficult concept to wrap your head around is because you're not supposed to use your head to understand it. This is not something that you comprehend with your brain, with your mind. This is something that you feel with your heart, that you feel inside of your heart. That is how you understand these two very distinct ideas. You hold them true in your heart. Well, here I have a little slide from a website by a Muslim group, and it's all about how to convert Sikhs to Islam. And they think that our idea of Vaheguru makes no sense. In fact, they say that how can Vaheguru be attributeless but also have attributes? How can Vaheguru be immanent and transcendent? And they're trying to prove that Sikhi doesn't make sense. But in reality, what the issue is here is that their conception of divinity is so limited. It is so constrained by definitions. And our idea of Vaheguru is breaks, destroys, explodes those boundaries. those definitions. It goes far beyond anything that this Muslim group can ever understand about what Vaheguru is. So they are trying to point out that our ideas don't make sense. And that's true, they don't make sense because they are true in your heart. They are not meant to be true in your mind. They are something that you hold on to with love and compassion. But we have talked about some of the attributes of Vaheguru. Now, what we are going to be talking about is how to form a relationship with Vaheguru. How to have an experience with Vaheguru. How to have a relationship, a loving relationship with Vaheguru Sahib Ji. Professor Teja Singh, writing 100 years ago, says, and he uses the word God, which is okay. He was writing in a different time, using Christian ideas at times. But he writes, the aim of life, according to the Sikh gurus, is not to get salvation, not to get mukti, not to go to Svarg, not to go to heaven or paradise, but to develop the best in us, which is God, to become divine. That is what Guru Sahib Ji wants us to do. So Professor Teja Singh is saying that the aim of a Sikh life, Raj na chao, Mukt na chao. What you are asking for is to become Vaheguru-like. Balahari gur apne devhari sadwar, jin manas te devte kiye kart na lagi var. Vaheguru Sahib Ji, the Guru, have the ability to, in an instant, transform us from mere human beings into something divine. And that is the goal of the Sikh life, to become more like Vaheguru. So if Vaheguru is creative, and Vaheguru makes the universe, and Vaheguru makes creation, Sikhs have to be creative as well. Sikhs have to be creative through Gurmat Sangeet, through painting, through literature, through art. Sikhs have to be creative. We have a rich tradition of creativity in the Sikh tradition. When we are being creative, we are experiencing what Vaheguru Sahib Ji did when Vaheguru Sahib Ji made the universe. We are being creative like Vaheguru was creative. It's a powerful idea. It's a very powerful idea. So if Vaheguru Sahib Ji is just and truthful, then we must be just and truthful. We must make the world a better place, that Guru Nanak Sahib Ji taught us through Vandke Shakna and Kirt Karne. We have to make the world a better place. We have to work towards a more just world, to bend the arc of history towards justice, as Martin Luther King Jr. said. We have to really take this idea that Vaheguru is just and truthful and make it a part of our daily lived reality, our everyday behavior. So that Sikhi is not something that we partition off, that's something that we do once a week when we go to Gurdwara, or once a year when we go to the Nagar Kirtan. Sikhi is something that you're living all the time, every day, all the time. So if Vaheguru Sahib Ji is sovereign and Vaheguru Sahib Ji is free, we have to demonstrate our sovereignty as Sikhs. And the way we demonstrate our sovereignty is through our Shastras and through our Dastars. That's a physical manifestation of a Sikh sovereignty, is our Dastar and our Shastras. That is how we demonstrate that we are not below any earthly force and we are only beholden to Vaheguru. And Vaheguru is the only thing that exists above the Sikh Panth, the Khalsa Panth. And if Vaheguru does not have enemy, if Vaheguru Sahib Ji is fearless, then we must also be fearless and we must also not have any enmity. Na ko mera darsan rehya, na hum kiske berai. No one is my enemy, nor am I anyone's enemy. Guru Arjan Sahib Ji is saying in this Pankti. And we see this in lived reality from Bhai Kanhaiya, who did so much to serve people who were the literal enemy of the Khalsa Panth. So that even people who are attacking us, who are killing us, are not our enemy, according to the Sikh tradition. According to the Sikh tradition, we have compassion and love even for those who are trying to harm us. It's a difficult place to reach. It's a difficult idea to comprehend, but it is the example that our great Guru Sahibjis and our great Gursikhs have presented for us. And the most important thing is, in order to become divine-like, in order to become Vaheguru-like, you need a guide. You need someone to show you the way. Guru Janaka Andala Chela Nahi Tao, Bin Sat Gur Nao Na Paiye, Bin Nave Kya Swao, I Gya Pachatavana, Josanye Kir Kao. If you don't have a guru, you are like a crow in a deserted house. Guru Nanak Sahib Ji is saying here in this Bhakti. Without a guru, you are andala, you're anda, you're blind. And you shall never find rest, nahi tao. You'll never find a place to rest. You need bin satguru nao na paiye. You will never be able to connect with that naam, connect with Vaheguru without a guru. You need a guru in order to make that connection. You need a guru in order to become Vaheguru-like. And as a Panth, we are so blessed because we have a perfect guru. Guru Granth Sahib Ji is a perfect guru, the perfect guru that will show us the way, demonstrate the way, and transform us to become Vaheguru-like. So we are very blessed as a Khalsa Panth. And through the guru, we need to develop a relationship with Vaheguru. And here I've given the photographic example of some great Gursikhs from the 20th century. People who had a disciplined lifestyle like Bhai Singh. People who had Bani as a center of their life like Sant Gurbachan Singh and Sant Kartar Singh Pindrawale. People who served selflessly like Bhagat Pooran Singh. People who did beautiful kirtan like Bhai Jawala Singh. All of these people connected and had a relationship with Vaheguru. And they allowed that relationship through the Guru to make them more Vaheguru-like. That is a power of the Guru. That without a moment's hesitation, Vaheguru can transform us into divine beings. And that finally will allow us to live up to our true potential. So we started off this talk talking about how scientific ideas of creation and divinity are limiting, and we have to break down those limits. What happens when we break down those limits is not only are we able to allow Vaheguru into our hearts, but we are able to live up to our true potential as humans. We have not understood what a human being is capable of, because a human being is capable of much more than we can understand. Man tu jot swarup hai, apna mool pehchan, man har ji tere naal hai, Gurmati Rang Maan. Guru Amar Das Sahib Ji is saying here in this Bhakti that You are a aspect of Vaheguru. Each one of you is an aspect of Vaheguru. Mana, your mind is not something separate from Vaheguru. It is Vaheguru. It is an aspect of that divine light. And you must connect with your true self. So when we break down these barriers, when we destroy these barriers, we are able to live up to our true potential as human beings. I'm going to wrap up there. Thank you so much for joining me today for this talk. I want to apologize for all the mistakes that I made during this presentation, for the mistakes in historical information, for the mistakes in Bani pronunciation that I made during this talk. I ask the Sanghat's forgiveness for those mistakes and to help me be better in the future. I want to remind the viewers that when we used images of the Guru Sahibs in this presentation, that those are not what the Gurus actually look like. Those are teaching tools and those are the artist's imagination. That the true image of the Guru is Gurbani. Guru Murat Guru Shabad Hai, as Bhai Gurdas Ji says. That the true image of the Guru is in fact Gurbani. And so we use these images of the Guru Sahibs as teaching tools, but they are limited in that that is not what the Guru really looked like. And if you really want to know what the Guru looked like, then you must read Guru Granth Sahib Ji. Thank you again. Apologize for all mistakes. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.